What's up, guys? It's Braxton with Career on Command. This is Smash or Cap Career Advice Resume Edition. All right, first one.
Let's turn this 1 out of 10 resume into a 10 out of 10 resume. First, we've got a master's, so let's add that to the name. Much better. Next, we don't need the street address. Bye-bye. Objective statement, absolutely not. This is not the 1990s. Skills are great, but this formatting is ugly. So we'll use a table to organize it. Much better. Education, first we'll use the formal credentials. Much better, and we'll get rid of the years because it's more than 10 years old. We're also going to move this section to the bottom because it's not quite as important as the experience. First thing we're going to do is add months and cities of our employer. We're also going to get rid of this last job because it's more than 20 years ago. It was a great time, but bye-bye. We're going to add some action verbs and numbers to the bullet points. Much better, look at all those numbers. Then we'll jazz up the formatting a little, and boom, much better.
So he did mention some good tips there, but overall, there are a couple of things I just do not agree with. The first one is putting a summary on the top of your resume. I've spoken to a lot of my recruiter partners on this, and they're kind of 50-50 on whether a summary is useful or not. Some recruiter partners like seeing a summary because it tells them at a high level who you are as a candidate, but in my opinion, putting a summary or an objective on your resume just takes up real estate for you to talk about your measurable experience, which is the thing that employers really want to see, and that's what's going to get you through to possibly getting an interview. No summary on a resume ever was make or break in terms of you getting an interview with an employer. And also, I'll mention that throughout my entire career, I never once put a summary or an objective on my resume, and I got into some really good jobs. So while the advice here was pretty good overall, I'm going to give this a cap just because it goes against some things that I advise against. All right, here's number 2.
Things on a resume that typically won't pass through an ATS. Lots of color, text boxes or circles, icons or clip art, lines like what is this? No.
Yeah.
Photos or shapes. Anything made in a design program.
Okay, yeah. When you are prepping a resume for an ATS system, there are a bunch of things that can get in the way between you getting an interview with that employer. And the thing with ATS systems is they act as a gatekeeper between you and that interview. And everything she mentioned in here is absolutely true. And what I love about it, if you think about it, like everything that you put in your resume is all about what is the barrier to getting an interview. And what I mean by that is if there's something that can create a potential barrier in your resume, then it's time to remove it. And once you remove all the barriers, all you're left with is the good stuff. So this is absolutely a smash. Okay, here's number 3.
Presenting the dates of employment on your resume in the right way. As an executive recruiter and former resume writer, I've written and reviewed thousands of resumes. And if you've seen this channel before, you know that I'm obsessed with every little detail on your resume and how it can be an opportunity for you to stand out.
Right,
so here's everything you didn't realize that you needed to know about putting the dates on your resume. First, be sure to include months and years. When you just have years like this, it can be perceived that maybe you're trying to hide the fact that you were there less than a year. If you are writing out the months on your resume, I encourage you not to abbreviate. This makes it very easy for the ATS to read it and give accurate data on the dates of employment. I actually don't like writing out the months, and there's 2 reasons why. The first one is completely stylistic, as I don't really like that some of the dates are longer than the others.
Yeah,
when you use this format, everything is the same length and looks clean and simple. Second reason why I like this format, people have a hard time of looking at these numbers really quickly and really understanding how long you've been there. If you've had short stints, this format can help you. Super important tip, if you worked for one company and held multiple roles, put the dates of the entire employment up top and then break out each role with dates on the side. If you don't put this one up top, the ATS may scan it and think you only worked in this role.
All right, so this one's mixed for me, but I'm going to give it a cap, and here's why. He's giving you a lot of tips about what he cares about as a recruiter reading your resume, and the whole problem is that before he even reads the resume, an ATS system is going to read it first, and the tips that he gave does not help you so much with getting through the ATS system. For example, writing out an abbreviation or not of the month that you worked at a job, that just doesn't matter. The ATS should be able to pick it up if it even cares. And there's one glaring issue that I noticed in his video that he didn't even talk about. There are over 300 ATS systems in the market, and you don't know which one the employer is using. And the problem is that all ATS systems behave differently. And so the glaring issue with one of his tips was he spent a lot of time talking about what your dates should look like, but he actually overlooked the biggest one, which is, if you saw in the video, there are hyphens used in the dates on that resume. And ATS systems potentially conflict with hyphens on your resume. So with all the things that he talked about in that video, he did you a big disservice by not mentioning the one that mattered the most, removing special characters like hyphens. Okay, here's number 4.
3 resume hacks that I'll guarantee an interview for you, and 99% of candidates don't add them.
All right.
Number 1, put a summary and your technical toolkit up at the top so they know immediately the kind of role that you'd be a good fit for. Now, I'm not talking objective, I'm talking summary, and a summary should include the value that you can bring the company. Number 2, break down your professional experience into the different projects and categorize them into keywords. Number 3, we want to see as much numbers as much as possible.
Okay, almost everything in there, with one exception, I disagree with. And so this is absolutely a cap, and here's why. A summary does not make or break your resume. Yes, employers and recruiters might want to see it, but it just doesn't matter. If they can see when they're looking in the ATS system, when you apply to a position with them, they see the ATS system is showing that you're a 60, 70, 80, 90% match for the job. That's not because of the summary. So keep that in mind. And he talked about listing technical skills at the top of your resume, and that's just not a big deal. And the reason why is because when you list a bunch of terms in your resume, yeah, that might be good for keywords, but when you list something without any substance to back it up, you're basically inviting the employer to take your word for it, which is never a good approach. So if I am a marketer and I say that I have managed ads for a company and don't say anything else about it, well, that doesn't tell the employer how good I am at managing ads. They're going to want to know the return on investment, how much ad spend I managed, how many different employers I did that for, things like that. And putting that in a skills section, when you're going to repeat that information later in your experience, hopefully, it's just redundant and it's not necessary. And then he mentioned listing categories of your experience for every role you've ever held, and I just think that's overkill. Because if you're listing your experience properly in your resume, then it should only be relevant to the job you're applying for, and categorizing your experience when you're trying to tailor your resume for a specific job, it just leads to more confusion on the employer's end. Okay, here's number 5. Realizing I just wasn't looking at this resume template. Okay, so obviously I can't see the whole template here, but I see 2 things that stand out to me. 1, the education is at the top of your resume. Everyone knows don't put your education on the top of your resume. It goes on the bottom because guess what? Employers care more about your experience. And then towards the bottom of the video screen there, I see it mentions skills and certifications and it lists them out by themselves, and that's just never a good idea. Always pepper that type of stuff throughout your experience and speak to the needs of the job listing. So this one's a mixed bag, but because there's a couple things on there that I think are glaring issues, this one's a cap. Thanks for watching Smash or Cap Career Advice, Resume Edition, guys. If you like this video, give me a like and subscribe to let me know this kind of content is what is helpful for you in your careers. And if you want to know a better way to write a resume, go to my usual spot and take my free resume rehab quiz.